Good afternoon, Belton ISD family, Big Red community. My name is Matt Smith. I'm the superintendent of schools here in Belton. And as you can see, we're in a different setting today. Thank you for joining me on this Facebook Live opportunity. I don't have a crew around me today, and so we apologize for any technical difficulties that we just had and for a little bit of a delay. But we wanted to make sure we had another opportunity to connect with you via Facebook Live as we go through our closure due to COVID-19 in Belton. Couple of things real quickly, just to recap what we've done is we met as a leadership team at the beginning of all of this and talked about the values of the Belton Independent School District and what needed to come across to our community, to our kids, to our staff through all of this process. The three things that we focused on were clarity in our communication, kindness in our approach, and unity in our purpose. And I want to be really clear about our purpose. And our purpose is to support the education of our kids, both academically, socially, emotionally through all of this. So those have been the three big areas that we have tried to use to guide all of our decisions in Belton ISD during this closure and how we're approaching our work moving forward. In short, I guess the best way to put it from my point of view is we're going to try and do right and good by all in our school district and try and take care of our kids and our staff and our families. And so that's been our approach the whole time. I want to talk a little bit about the decision-making process and the big decisions that we work through and how we make those decisions too. First, we try and take a look at the facts. As I talked about school closures in a video earlier this week, I'll use that as an example. We reach out and gather facts from local health authorities, from any state authorities that we can, and from national authorities, and we try and make informed decisions on whatever we do. We apply that throughout our school district on all of the decisions that we're making at this time, as well as trying to use the facts that we have. It doesn't matter that another district has done it a different way or that they're out ahead of us and doing something. We're trying to use facts to make informed decisions and keeping unity and purpose that focus on our kids in the back of our mind the entire time. So just so you know, in the decision-making process, we try and make sure that we are relying on information that's going to help make the experience for our students and our families best, and not just try and hurry and get out there for decisions. Another thing that I think is really important to answer right off the bat, or to discuss right off the bat, is why are we still in school, and why haven't we just called things off for the remainder of the year? And I'll be real honest about that one. I have hope that we're able to come back still. As I said, I rely on facts, and we are not going to put health and safety of students, staff, and community in jeopardy, but I do still have hope, and I don't want to give up hope on our seniors being able to have some of those critical senior experiences that they've been looking forward to. I don't want to give up hope that our juniors and our sophomores and our freshmen and all our other grades will be back in front of their teachers, working with their teachers for the remainder of the year yet. And I've also gotten some questions on why are we trying to actually continue learning? Why don't we just shut it down like some other states have done? In the state of Texas, we've been asked to make sure that we continue providing learning opportunities for each and every student, and that we don't shut it down. So our guidance from the Texas Education Agency and from the state is that we do need to continue providing school, and school just doesn't look like attending and being in four walls in a classroom. It actually is in an online environment right now. So we have to keep moving forward that way. We want to keep moving forward that way because we believe in our heart that education and a learning experience for kids is really critical during all of this time. So we will continue, again, making decisions based on the unity and purpose idea, focus on our kids, that will be as clear as we possibly can, and that we'll treat every situation with kindness in our approach. So I'm going to open it up. I have a colleague on the line, and she's going to be asking me some questions from the Big Red community, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Smith. We've got a couple of questions coming in about who's going to make the decision on GPAs and when will that be?
Yeah, that's a great question on that. So we've had a team working on this for a little while, trying to figure out how to navigate through our policy. We have board policies that guide a school district, and how to navigate through that policy to, again, going back to something I said a few minutes ago, doing right and good by all, to make sure that we're taking good care of each and every student in our system. We're hoping to have some announcements made here in the next week about GPA and grading and those types of things. Here's what I can tell you is that we're probably going to try and move to some kind of a pass-fail situation for engaging in these learning opportunities. As I mentioned, as a state, we're required to provide these learning opportunities and make sure that students are engaging in them. And so we do believe we have to have something there. And we're doing our best to figure out how we create that and ensure that grading opportunity, like a pass-fail situation, is able to be applied but not negatively impact the GPA of students, because we do know that matters as well. So we're hoping to get some information out in the next week or so. We have a policy committee from our board of trustees that we're going to be talking about that with them online next week. And then April 20th is our next meeting of the board of trustees. That'll be another virtual meeting. But I'm hoping to have some information out to our community sometime next week after we have that policy committee meeting.
Great. And Dr. Smith, can you address kind of concerns coming from parents who are worried that their child is struggling in the remote learning environment and they don't feel adequate as parents to help them? Is there anything that, any support or suggestions you can give them?
Absolutely. Please, please, please. I think one of the most important things that we can do in all of this is give ourselves grace. I mentioned this the other day. I'm a parent as well, and I am in the middle of trying to help my child as well, and I don't feel like I'm doing an adequate job on some of these things. And it's a challenge for us all. So I ask you to give yourself some grace and some space and some realization that things are not going to be perfect. As a school district, we had to shift the learning environment that we've all been used to for the last probably about 100 years in this nation. And we had to do that almost overnight. And that's going to come with a lot of bumps and bruises and challenges along the way. And so as parents, we value you as key partners in all of this. And we understand that there are a certain amount of things that you're good with and that things are going well. And then there's some things we're really struggling with. I can assure you we're trying to design our learning experiences for kids to keep those things in mind, because we know that there are families at home that are balancing jobs and student learning opportunities. And so we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. We will have some additional communication coming out on how we will be adjusting our instructional approach, but still trying to maintain the idea that we can provide some exceptional learning experiences for kids and also find the balance that parents need to find at home. So please give yourself some grace and know that we are continually working to try and devise those learning experiences so that we respect that.
And Dr. Smith, a lot of questions about whether my child is going to be promoted to the next grade and how can you decide if they're going to be promoted based on this online learning, and will summer be utilized, and can my child get caught up in the summer?
So a couple of things on that. Right now, in the state, we have not been asked to extend school years into the summer. I don't think that's a viable opportunity for us. That is partially the reason why we have to provide these learning experiences now. So at this point, I really don't see us having to continue into the summer for learning opportunities. As far as the actual learning that students are doing, again, yes, we do. COVID-19's medical crisis that we have in our nation is not going to negatively affect students that were already progressing to be promoted to that next grade. We will work with those families and try and make sure that the learning that they've struggled with during this closure is something that we incorporate into learning in the future for them, and try and make sure that we're supporting each and every student. There was a story told to me one time about a principal who talked to his teachers about the fact that we don't teach just subject, we teach kids. And I think that's an important lesson for us all to realize in this, is that when they come in the next year, we're going to take each and every kid and support them appropriately so that they grow. So for those of you that are really worried about the learning that is happening right now, know that we're continuing to work on that, but we will always look at each and every individual student and try and make sure they're supported fully for the future. If you have real questions about the status of your child, where they were in their learning progression, and before this closure, I would definitely reach out to your teacher and your principal, talk through those concerns. But what I can definitively say is we're not going to use COVID-19 as a way that does detriment to kids' promotion in all of this. So please keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and can you answer, there's some concern in the chat room about families that don't have access to internet or to computers, and what 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 do you have to say for that, and what's the district doing for them?
So we've been reaching out to families, the ones that we know that have not engaged or aren't engaging. We've been reaching out to them, and we are making individual accommodations for families that are struggling with those things. We have also set up additional wireless hotspots at some of our schools in the district where, as a family, you can still go. You can actually get wireless internet connection in your car, not have to get out of your car and connect, so you can see exactly what you need to see. So there are a lot of ways that we are trying to reach out, and we will continue to do that with individuals that are struggling through it. So please know that when we say each and every student, we want to make sure they're having those experiences. We're really meaning that, and we're working with those individual families to ensure that they have connection with us.
Great, thank you. And can you address the parents of students in transitional grades? So maybe about to start, or in kindergarten, about to start kindergarten, fifth graders, eighth graders, before they launch their kid into that next season of life. There's some anxiety about whether they're going to be prepared for that.
I don't blame parents a bit about that. Here's what I would say again is we function as a school district. So we know that the learning of our current eighth graders is impacted by the COVID-19 medical situation that we have at hand. And so that will in turn focus our learning efforts in ninth grade and help our ninth grade teachers in our high schools really support our kids. We're not going to forget about all this when we open up in the fall, hopefully, and we're going to make sure that our students are well taken care of. So in all of these transitional grades, please know that we are doing appropriate planning to, again, teach the kids and not just the content material. Some of that will require additional support and help, and we'll provide that.
Great. And can you touch on questions about registration and, my students new to the district, I need to get registering for next year, those kind of questions?
We're working through a whole host of virtual opportunities for people on this. We know that right now our governor has said schools are essential functions, but we're not gathering in schools. And so we're not going to have big gatherings of people and to do some of those traditional things regarding registration. I do know that like our new tech principal has reached out and said, we have a plan in place and we're going to do some things virtually. We're exploring some of the same things with kindergarten roundup and stuff that we've done in the past. So our community needs to know we will push some of that information out through various ways, like on our district website, and make sure that our schools are publicizing it well to make sure that those events that they're used to for registration, for roundup, for any of those things, that they're able to have those in a virtual means. And we'll get more of that information out in the coming weeks.
Perfect. Thank you. We've also got some more senior parents that have jumped in now. And so they're asking questions about whether any decisions have been made on prom and graduation and some of those special experiences.
I had a great meeting this morning again with our high school principals, and we've been talking through things. Here's what I can tell you. Our high school principals are phenomenal. They are working through planning processes for various scenarios. And I think two things are really important to know. We are trying to figure out how we can have scenarios in place so that we can have those live events like prom and graduation if we're able to do so. We're also exploring things like virtual graduations and stuff. And we have a specific message that's going to be coming out to our seniors and families next week from the principals and myself regarding what we're doing on those things. Again, here's what I would say. I'm not ready to give up hope that our seniors can have some of those experiences along the way. But I do want to make sure that we are engaging them in some kind of a discussion or feedback situation where they are able to help guide us if we end up not being able to come back to school. What are ways that we can recognize the senior class? That'll get kicked off early next week, and I'm really proud of our principals at those high schools because they have done some great work in ensuring that we're going to have opportunity to recognize our seniors appropriately.
Great. Can you touch on where the district is right now on meal service to students?
So we still have 3 sites available for meal service in our system, and those 3 sites have been serving a lot of meals to our community over this process. I think I told our community this right off the bat. Makes me extremely proud of the staff that we have. But without a blink of an eye, on the first day that we were closed after spring break, our food service staff was providing meals to our community. And so those meal places will continue. We're continuing to evaluate what's working well. We've had some restrictions that have loosened up a little bit. The Texas Department of Agriculture is who provides the guidance for all school districts and lunches and stuff, and they've had some things loosen up a little bit, and we've been responding appropriately. So we will continue to do that. Again, going back to health and safety, health and safety of students, staff, and community. We are doing our best to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe and also providing those meals, and we plan to continue to do so as long as we're allowed.
Great. And can you address parents that may be overwhelmed with the online learning opportunities and this heavy weight of expectation that they're feeling as we continue for several more weeks? What would your advice be to them, or what can you say to them?
I need you to know that you have partners in this. I think it's good that we're circling back to this discussion because it's on my mind a lot right now. I'm a parent as well, and I struggle with the same thing. I would say this is that give yourselves some grace and provide yourselves some flexibility. We are continuously taking a look at how we develop these learning opportunities to make sure we're keeping the family in mind when we're pushing these opportunities out. We're required by the state to provide these learning opportunities, and we also believe in our heart that we should be providing kids the opportunity to learn, even though it's in a different way right now. But we want to make sure that we're balancing that well and supporting you all well. So if you would give yourself some grace and realize that it's not going to be perfect, we have shifted a system that is centuries old in a very short amount of time, and it's going to require us to do some iterations of things. And I think that same thing can be said from a family perspective. It's not going to be perfect off the bat. It doesn't need to be perfect off the bat, and let's just keep working together to figure it out.
Yeah, great. I want you to know, Dr. Smith, there are teachers in the chat, and they're saying, parents, please contact your kiddos' teachers. We want to help. And so your teachers are doing a stand-up job.
I think that's
out and help.
I want to give our teachers and our principals and all of our staff a shout out because, again, as you all know, they would much rather be in front of their kids right now. And so our teachers are going through a really tough time. They're working as hard as they can to help support our families. And so if you're really struggling as a family, reaching out to that classroom teacher, talking to them about what they can do, and any suggestions that they may have, I think is a really wise move. So thank you, teachers, for weighing in. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all our staff that are serving our kids right now.
Yeah, and there's a couple questions coming in from staff just asking, will they continue to be paid during the duration of this?
Yes, so our Board of Trustees back at our last official board meeting passed a resolution that allowed us to continue to pay our employees through this closure. I think one of the hardest things to keep in the back of our mind is we are closed for our buildings, but we are not closed for school right now. We're actually required to provide these learning opportunities, and we need all of our employees to do that. So yes, they continue to get paid and will continue to get paid during this closure.
Great. And some questions coming in a little bit on the other extreme on the online, the extended learning opportunities is some parents feel like maybe it's not as rigorous as they would like. Is there anything you can say for them? Again,
I would reach out and talk with the teachers some. I think one of the challenges that we have is we created a learning environment and learning opportunities for kids real quickly throughout our whole system. And we know that the individual needs of kids and the challenge that they need to have is important in all of this. So I think that you will continue to see us evolve as a system and provide more enriching learning opportunities along the way. But I would reach out to your teacher and talk about those things and see what suggestions they have. Our curriculum team continues to work on how they cultivate those resources and provide those for families as well. But I also want to be really clear. I think one of the things that everybody needs to realize is that the learning is not going to look exactly the same way as it would in a regular classroom setting right now. My hope in all of this is that we provide learning opportunities that create joy and love of learning in our kids, and so that they become lifelong learners and that they have the ability to dive deeper into learning. I think it's going to be a challenge along the way, but we're up for evolving as a system, and we will continue to work with you as families to make sure your kids' needs are met.
Dr. Smith, we have a parent, I think, asking, is there anything we can do for our teachers and show support for them? Is there anything they need during this time?
Our teachers are probably on the chat and typing in as well, and I'll let them respond on some of those things. But here's what I would say in all of this. I would say that if we think through this and make sure that we're celebrating our teachers, our staff, our parents, our students, and all of this, and come together as one community, that's probably the best celebration that we can have. If we are all focused on doing what's right and good by all, and meaning all in our system, then I think that means celebrating people appropriately. I think that means, respecting and maintaining that we are all going through things, including our teachers. They have their own family situations where they're trying to figure out how to be a teacher in their home environment with their own kids and their own family often. So it's a respect and it's a celebration that I think would do everyone a lot of good, is just reaching out and telling people they're doing a great job. And I hope you hear that message from me, parents, and I hope our teachers are hearing that message from me. And I hope our community as a whole continues to keep that in mind, because we do have a couple of tough weeks ahead of us, and if we keep pulling together, I think we'll be just fine.
Great. Dr. Smith, can you kind of recap on your decision-making process and, why has the decision not been made to go ahead and call it for the rest of the year? And what resources you're looking to make those decisions?
Thanks for that reminder. I should have done that when we kicked off on this Facebook Live. We talked a little bit about the decision-making process and what we go through in all of this. First, we've gotten some questions about, why haven't you just called off school for the rest of the year? Just leave these kids alone. Well, there are a few reasons for that. First is the state of Texas Education Agency. They're giving us requirements in all of this. And our requirement is to provide learning opportunities that's not in a physical school, just like we would normally if they were coming to school. So we have to provide those according to the state. Also, just inherently, we believe that we should provide learning opportunities for our kids. Our kids, we want them to be learning at this time and not have to be at home and not have learning opportunities. We value the act of schooling and the support of our kids academically, and so we want to provide those as a school district. So we're given guidance and mandates from the state that we have to, and we're also believe in our heart that it's the right thing to do for kids. As far as the learning opportunities themselves, we're continuing to work with our teams and our schools and our teachers to try and make sure we're providing the right learning opportunities that respects the family situations that various people are in, and that honors the fact that we're all going through some very challenging times. And we have some parents that are working from home, and both working, and 3 kids, and trying to manage all that is tough. So we're evolving as a system to respect all of those things. As far as the decision making goes on how we make our decisions, I've said this a few times in these live events, we always take a look at the facts of cases and try and make sure that we're really gleaning that information that's important for us to know. There will always be other districts that announce something first, or that might announce something later. Our role in all of this is to look and see what the facts are of the situation and try and make sure that we are promoting the health and safety of kids, that we're promoting clarity in our communication, kindness in our approach, and unity in our purpose, and that unity is on educating kids, and that we're maintaining hope for the future. I said earlier on this, I'm not ready to give up hope yet that the school year is over. I do know that the school year goes beyond the academic classroom and the academic experiences, and I do know that there's some critical experiences that kids have. I'm not ready to give up on those yet, and so we're working with our leaders in every campus to try and make sure we're planning appropriately for ways to recognize and involve kids in learning that goes beyond the classroom and the academics.
Great, Dr. Smith. And can you just recap briefly? We've got some new joiners that are asking about grade point average and how these extended learning assignments are being looked at.
Yeah, I appreciate those questions. I know it's a big concern for students and families on all of this. We have a requirement from the state that we have to keep kids engaged in the learning opportunities for the remainder of the traditional school year here. And we believe that probably the best way to do that is to start to move toward a pass-fail situation. Regarding GPAs, we have policies that our Board of Trustees work on that help guide GPAs. What we're doing is we've been doing some research and we have some good ideas. We believe we're going to be discussing those with the Board of Trustees. There's a policy committee that meets next week, and they're going to be talking a little bit about the policies. Our goal in all of this is to create a situation where students understand and parents understand that yes, participation is required in the learning opportunities for the remainder of the year, but no, it shouldn't negatively, or it should not impact GPA in a negative manner through all of this. So our policy discussion on that will really focus on doing right and good by each and every one of our kids and trying to make sure that our grading practices allow us to maintain kids' involvement in school for the remainder of the year as we're required to do.
Great. And Dr. Smith, as we wrap up here, it's Friday. Do you have any big weekend plans?
I was hoping to mow the lawn this weekend. I was hoping to connect with my family a little bit and try and make sure that we're all doing okay. We will see. It sounds like it's going to be a rainy weekend. I need to tell our community exactly what I have told our principals and to make sure you all hear it loud and clear. I ask our staff on the weekends to shut down, focus on family, to try and make sure that they're resting and rejuvenating, because we do have an unprecedented situation for us in Belton ISD, and we want to make sure that we're taking good care of ourselves and our family. I know that for me to be at my best, I need to be able to focus on my family over the weekend, and I expect that for all of the rest of our teachers and our staff to give them the grace and the patience and the ability to be able to do that over the weekend so they can be at their best next week when they get involved working with our kids again. So please know, community, that my only advice to our staff is to do that. And I hope you all are able to do that with your kids and your family as well.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. I hope you have a wonderful day again. We will host these periodically to make sure we're staying connected with our community. And there have been tough decisions along the way. There'll be more tough decisions along the way. And I can promise you we're going to do our best for our kids in each and every one of those. So thank you. Appreciate your time today. Have a great weekend.